All right, at any point now. There it is. All right, you guys know what time it is. It is 5:03 on Tuesday, so we are live at 5. If you are here, drop something in the comments so we can know you're here with us. Let us know what's going on in your life. If you are maybe trying to get a job, maybe you just got your housing, maybe you're about to have a baby. I know we got a lot going on in the Immerse community these days, so keep us updated with what's going on with you, and how we can be helping you guys. I'm gonna make sure I'm on the, okay, here we go. But yeah, if you're here, say hello. I don't have any announcements tonight. We are still doing work hard, play harder. So if you are currently working, make sure you're getting with your coach to submit those hours so we can take you to Branson for a weekend. Gonna be amazing. So that is all on my end. Lindsay, Josh, how are you guys doing on this fine Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm in Winston-Salem all week long. I get here on Sunday. I get home on Friday. I'm traveling for work. We've been doing training Monday and Tuesday and tomorrow. So doing what I love to do. I'm excited that I get to connect with y'all tonight.
Awesome.
And
Love it.
she can't get back home fast enough.
You said she can't get back home fast enough?
Yes.
That is very sweet.
Well, he probably wants me to feed everybody.
I love it. I love it. All right, guys, we got a few with us. We got 6 people watching. Oh, whoopsie. Hold on, I need to mute this. We got 6 people watching, and I see 4 people in the comments. So there's one person. I'm calling you out. I want to know who you are. But we will go ahead. Okay, now we got 9 people watching. Let's go.
Wow.
So yeah, big crowd, as it should be. We're here every Tuesday at 5. Tonight, guys, we are talking about finance. Last week, after it was highly requested, we talked about debt and all things surrounding debt. If you have not seen that one, I would highly recommend you go and watch it, because we just hit everything and there's a ton of good information out there. And I have no doubt that this week is going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to turn it over to the pros. Just one more call for if you're here, say hey in the comments so we can count you as here. We want you to get that gift card, right? But yeah, I'll hand it over to you guys.
Thanks, Casey. Hey, everyone. Welcome. We are going to continue our series on finance. So the first week, we talked about credit and debit and the difference between the two, how to set up an account with a bank and get a debit card, the different options for getting a credit card. Last week, we talked about debt and what happens when you don't pay back debt and sort of the process that goes on in that. And this week, we're talking about saving. So these are just like real life tips and hacks for saving hard-earned cash. And I know when I was your age, I was certainly working paycheck to paycheck. So savings was a huge part of my life when I could do it. Not everyone has the opportunity to have extra money to save or put aside, but here are tips to reduce how much money you're spending month to month. But then also, if there is an opportunity to save anything extra, just some strategies to do that. Really, the first thing you got to do before we even talk about saving money, if you have a significant amount of debt, especially credit card debt, that's where a lot of your money is going to go because of the interest rates. We talked about this when we talked about credit cards. Really, first thing is first is to pay off your high interest debt. And I would say anything that's in the double digits certainly would qualify for a high interest debt, so 10% or higher. Most credit cards are 20% interest rate. And if you have a low credit or just now working on your credit score, or you've got a significant amount of debt, that's probably even higher than 20%, which means that anytime that you have an outstanding balance, not only are you paying against that balance, but you're paying 20% on top of that balance. And if it rolls into the next, it's another 20%. So you can see it like snowballs very quickly, and you don't want that to happen to you. So the first thing really is so you can save money by paying off your debt, and then you're not paying that extra 20+%. And the next thing is, a lot of people ask, well, how much should I be working toward in savings? And the answer is 6 months. And there's a time in my life when I was your age, my early 20s and my 20s, I thought this was impossible. I was like, oh, you're telling me that I'm supposed to save up 6 months of income, 6 months of living expenses, like that includes housing, transportation, all your bills, food. You tell me 6 months of my paycheck, how am I going to do that? And eventually you get to the point where you can, but just know like that's really the goal. And really the 6 months comes from if you find yourself out of a job, and you, especially if you're supporting other people, or a roommate situation, if you find yourself out of a job, the 6 months would carry you until you're able to find another job. Or if you found yourself in a situation where you had to have emergency money, especially medical bills isn't a great example of this, that would help you carry through your medical bills or any other emergency funding. So 6 months is really the goal, understanding that, I don't think that I was probably 30, maybe even in my 30s before I was really able to sustain 6 months of income. So that's just, I recognize that I put that out there, but I also recognize how impossible that can seem, especially when you're just trying to find a job. Okay, so once you're able to start saving money, one of the best ways to do that is really to take a portion of your paycheck. So when you finally do have a steady employment, what you can do is that you can allocate most of your paycheck to your bank account, direct deposit, or, and not or, but most of it towards your bank account, and then a portion of that to a savings account. And the reason why you want to do that is because it's going to be out of sight and out of mind. And so you won't even miss it because you won't ever see it. And you can actually put in extra stipulations in there. So there's other things you can do is like, you can only withdraw from that account with cash, or you have to be in person to be able to like withdraw. And so whenever you set up that account, you can put in these extra layers of security so you're never tempted to try and draw money out of it, out of convenience, basically. And it doesn't have to be much, like maybe like 90% of your paycheck goes to your checking and 10% goes to savings, or 99% goes to checking and 1% goes to savings. But you figure out what that needs to be, but at least that way you're always putting money into an account. And there are many savings accounts that accrue interest. And that means that as your money is going into the savings account, it's actually growing bigger. The same way that we talked about that credit card situation where you're always paying another 20% on whatever your debt is, your savings account usually has in between 1 to 5% of accumulated interest, which means that you're earning additional money just by keeping your money in the bank.
Right, and then anytime. Check with the question real quick. Oh yeah. So sorry. I was trying to be quick about it. So I got a good question. Let's say we've got someone that has limited income, like maybe they're getting a disability check. Even if you're doing, if you have limited income, how can you save money effectively if most of it goes towards bills or other living expenses?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about some like real life tips too. So like this is just one way, but if you're getting disability as like your main income, or just like another really fixed income, if you can, obviously figure out what your living expenses are. So what is your housing, what's your transportation, what's your bare minimum food costs, what are your other bills, your phone, your internet, like whatever you have to have, what do you have to cover every month? And then from there, you can figure out how much you can save. And if you have room, even if it's $20 a month, if there's anything extra, I highly recommend putting it into an interest-bearing account so your money is growing, unless you have debt, and then you should be paying down that high interest debt.
Okay, perfect. Shay asked that question. So Shay, get back to us in the comments if that was helpful. And if not, we'll take another stab at it. Thanks, Lindsay.
Circle back, yeah, of course. Okay, so once you finally, you're able to secure employment and you've been there for a little bit, it's likely that you're gonna get a raise. Most companies give annual raises, and it's anywhere between 1% or higher. A lot of places try to match inflation. So if you know that inflation is like 2 to 3%, we can expect a 2 to 3% raise annually, especially salary positions, but even hourly positions, this happens too, just to basically say, okay, inflation's gone up 2.5%, we're gonna give you a raise of 2.5%. So that way you're not ever like getting further in the hole because the cost of living is getting higher, but your hourly rate stays the same. So anytime you get a raise, I would allocate a portion of that raise to savings. So just like we talked about, a portion of your paycheck is going to go to savings, and then a portion of your raise is going to go to savings. Let's say you get a 3% raise, maybe 1% of your raise can go to savings. And by the way, you weren't used to this income before, so it's not like you're going to miss it if you allocate a portion of it over to savings, right? Because you've been able to maintain your living expenses at your employment level before you got a raise. And we can get into a whole topic about 401k. There's a lot of employers that offer 401k options. This is really, this is great because there's a lot of tax benefits to this. And basically it's free money if your employer matches your contribution. The thing to know about 401k is basically match what your employer is giving you if you can, so like maximize that out. And that way it goes into an interest-bearing account. So it's the same way that I talked about, put your money towards a savings account, it grows interest. Your 401k is doing the same thing. You take money out of your paycheck, you never ever see it, so you don't miss it. It's just like it's automatically taken out and it has interest, so it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger the longer you let it sit there. You can take out money from your 401k sometimes, but there's usually a penalty. So just whenever you sit down with your employer and you're setting up your 401k account, see if you can match the maximum, and then also ask about what the penalties are if you take money out early. And by the way, whenever you leave your job, all that money goes with you. Okay, something else I'd recommend is having basically a fund money account. And you can have fund money just however you want to define that. I did this in my early 20s. You know, I would have friends and they would, you know, go on a vacation, or there might be a big purchase that I was saving up for, or just being able to go out in general. If you're able to create some sort of like fund money jar, the same way that you would save for rainy days, so you have an emergency fund, we talked about that 6 months, you can also save up for these bigger purchases. And so you can create like a little jar, put a picture on it if you want to, if that's motivation. So maybe like you might have a beach vacation, you're saving up for a car or wherever it is. But you would be amazed by how quickly money kind of adds up, accumulates. The way that we did it is that any of our loose change, or any time that we could round up to $1. So let's say we buy, you know, a Snickers bar, and after tax it comes down to like $2.19. Well, that means that 81 cents would go into the fund money account, because that would round up to $3. So anytime like we could round up to the next dollar, that money automatically went into our fund money account. And it doesn't seem like it was much, but it very quickly started to add up. I also recommend, you know, a jar is good if you like want that mental kind of like, you know, having that mental, that visual goal representation of what you're working toward. Even better if you can put it in a savings account that is bearing interest. So, you know, you put your money in a jar, it's not going anywhere, but you can see it grow. So there's a benefit to that. There's also a benefit in putting it into a savings account that has an interest applied to it. So, you know, all those coins you're rounding up, that's also growing money for you. And like I said, it can be, you know, 1 to 5%. Okay, so here's like a real life tip. A real life tip is try to spend money once per day, especially if you're living on a really fixed income, you're on a tight budget, you're paycheck to paycheck, whatever it is. Maybe a good rule of thumb that you just put in place for you is that you're only going to spend money once a day. And that could be like, okay, I'm going to spend money on lunch today. I'm going to spend money on my groceries for the week. I'm going to put in fuel in my tank. I'm going to pay rent. You know, whatever it is, try to only spend money once per day. And that way you're like, nope, I can't go out to lunch today because I already have to tank in my car, or gas in my car this morning, so I can't go out to lunch today. Or, oh, I paid rent, so that means I'm going to buy groceries tomorrow. So, but you know, this is just like a way to basically like control how much spending you're doing. And then it also helps you track your spending. So that way you're not forgetting about purchases you made early in the week, because you're making several purchases a day. It's easy to forget what you've already spent money on, and that way there's no surprises whenever you check your bank account. Okay, another good rule of thumb for just like real life is have a no spend list. So this means that you put like a self-imposed limit on what you're going to spend money on. So maybe for you that looks like, okay, I'm not going to buy any new makeup for like the next, you know, 2 months, or I'm not going to buy any new clothes until July. You know, maybe just like come up with a frame of like limitation, so that way you're holding out on any extra spending. And then over time, maybe you can stretch that out. Obviously, if you need new clothes because you just got a new job and you need work clothes, get your work clothes. But if you're just wanting to spend money on new clothes or new makeup, or I don't know, whatever it is, maybe you can put a time limit on it, so that way you can sort of like earn up to it. And then also, as you're spending money, convert it to hours worked. So if you wanted to get like a new pair of shoes, they're super cute, you really like them, whatever, they're $120, you make $15 an hour. That's basically a full day of work. So you can also think about that. Okay, I can buy $100 worth of groceries. That's going to last me a week, maybe 2 weeks. These pair of shoes, like, is that worth 2 weeks of groceries? Is this pair of shoes worth working a full day? And once you can think about it in that frame of mind, you might be like, no, that's not really worth it. Especially like those little extra things, those impulse buys that you see when you're just like walking around the store, you weren't planning to get them anyway. You can be like, oh my God, that's $15. I have to like work an hour for that. That might help you maybe make better spending decisions. Also, buying in bulk. Usually when you can buy in bulk, you can get things up to 50% off, things like toothpaste, you know, things that hopefully you're using on a regular basis. So things like toothpaste, any other toiletry items, you can get up to like 50% off. There's even options for like buy one, get one. So I know like Procter & Gamble, P&G, Johnson & Johnson, those big brand companies, they come out with coupon flyers like once a month. And their cycles kind of like switch up, but it's usually once a month they'll come up with a flyer on all their products, and a lot of them are buy one get one off, or like $2 off at this size, or $1 off this size. And I used to be like the craziest coupon cutting fool. I had a whole binder, and I had like those baseball card dividers, those plastic baseball card dividers, and I had my my coupons organized and like all those baseball card dividers, and there was like cleaning products, and there was like, you know, toiletries and just like household stuff. There's baby items, especially for those of you who need like diapers and like any baby formula, anything baby related. There's so many coupons on diapers. I feel like you can have like a whole year's supply of diapers for free just from coupons. And so just it takes time, right? Like it takes time, and you have to be able to like plan it out. But I remember going to I had like a whole circuit, like Walgreens, Target, Kroger, and Walmart, and you'd have to like sort of hit up like if there was a sale and you could partner with that with a coupon, you could get like so much stuff for free. And then also being able to buy it in bulk, you had like so much more than you like would ever need. So that's just like another tip. If you're curious about coupons and you're not using them already, I definitely check out Crazy Coupon Lady. That's a website. And she's been around for a while, back when I was like really heavy into couponing. I mean, guys, I had like my binder and I take my shopping cart and I like flip it open and I had my list and I was like going down. I had like a fistful of coupons when I went to go check out. There's no shame. Now a lot of them are electronic, but Crazy Coupon Lady told me exactly which coupons to cut, how often, where to go for what. She would be like, okay, go to Walgreens this week if you want Crest toothpaste, and you'll basically get like 5 boxes for free. Like, yes. So it does take like a lot of like coordination and planning, but it's so worth it, especially when you're on a tight budget. Rakuten, I think there's other services that are pretty similar, but Rakuten, you can sign up, free membership. You can shop at 2,500 stores. They reimburse you in the form of cash back. So maybe you'll get like 50 bucks, you know, a quarter, or depending on how, like where you shop and how often. But that's a really great way. I mean, you're going to buy those things anyway, you know, just to have in your home and to sustain a living. So if you're going to buy those things anyway, you may as well get cash back on your purchases. So you join, it's free. You get a cash bonus for signing up. They tell you where you can shop. And then every 3 months, they send you payment, cash back, that you can put into your bank account. I also recommend regular check-ins. Regular check-ins are good for a lot of reasons. I don't know if you've ever written a check and then someone like decided to like hold on to your check for months and months, and then like 6 months later, it's like, oh, that check cleared. You probably forgot. I know I've been in that situation where I'm like, oh, that check cleared. They finally are cashing my check or depositing my check. And so you forget about those purchases. And especially when you're like on a tight budget, like if you forget about those and you're really close to being at a zero balance, then you're at risk for having an overdrawn account. And then remember, we talked about like every single overdrawn purchase. And like, you're like, cool, I'm gonna go pay rent, I'm gonna go grocery shopping, I'm gonna pay a couple of bills, I'm gonna like buy myself some coffee, I'm gonna treat myself this week. Every single time, like $23 overdraft charge for every single purchase because someone decided to cash a check that you forgot about. So I recommend regular check-ins, you know, at least weekly, more if you can, just so you can stay on top of your purchases that you may have forgotten. We talked about how a lot of gas stations have a hold on your account. So sometimes it takes like a while for things to clear or for things to go through. So just staying on top of your purchases is like a good reminder to yourself of like, oh yeah, like I totally forgot I spent money on that. I don't have as much money as I thought I did. And then also if your identity gets stolen, it says identify, it's supposed to be identity. If your identity is stolen, you can catch it much quicker. You call the bank and say, hey, I did not write this check. I did not make this purchase. Like, how can you help me, basically? And a lot of credit card companies come with fraud protection. More and more banks are now coming with that fraud protection too, for cases like this when your identity might be stolen. Okay, that's it. Those are my savings tips. So do we have any other questions? Josh, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
So, I mean, there's something that you mentioned that we're doing now. I think we should tell them about, you know, so, you know, we still do the money jar, you know, and take all of our change, but we do it all digitally now because it's, all done through our credit cards and through our debit cards and things like that. And so there's a company called Acorn, and there's a few others out there too, but Acorn is the one that we use. So every time that we purchase something on our credit card or debit card, it takes it and rounds it up to the next dollar, and it takes that change and it puts it into an account. And it's amazing how fast that money can add up. You know, it's just change, but they actually take that money and they invest it for you, and into the market. And Lindsay and I have been doing this since 2018, and just using our change from dollars, you know, we have almost $2,000 saved that goes towards our retirement. you know, and that's it's money that you don't really think about whenever you're just spending $1 here or there. But when you just round up that money, you know, it can really add up.
Yeah.
Casey,
It's cool to hear you talk about Acorn because I get ads on social media a lot with Ashton Kutcher talking about that app, and I've always been really curious about it. So it's cool to meet someone who actually uses it. All I've seen is Ashton Kutcher talk about it on the internet, like, oh, but I'm always kind of intrigued by what a good idea that is. It rounds everything up and invests all that little change that adds up. Investing is really cool. I don't really know a whole lot about it. My boyfriend is, he works with stocks and bonds, big companies, so he's very passionate about it. But I think it's really cool because you just put your money somewhere and then it just grows all on its own and you get more. So if I can request a Live at 5 topic, it would be about investing. Would love to know more about it. Thankfully, I've got people in my life that can really help me with it, so I don't have to know the ins and outs, but I would like to know more. Anyways, we got some good discussion going on. Regina says saving your money can be really hard, but it can also be easy. It just depends on what you do with your money. I would agree with that. I love the tip, Lindsay, of kind of looking through and seeing what your money goes to, because I promise you, every time I look at my bank statement, I'm like, I did not know that I went out to eat 7 times a day. Apparently I do. So now that I'm aware of what a habit that is and how it is, I mean, it's not draining my bank account. I'm able to spend that money, but it's like I would rather do other things with it, you know? Can be super helpful. And then we have a question. What if someone steals all of your savings through fraud? That is very tough. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, early detection is like really important, which is why I recommend, you know, checking in. But usually, like I said, credit card companies are really great about fraud protection. I've never had a credit card company not clear, you know, a fraudulent purchase. And they've always given me like a new credit card. And of course you have to wait for that. Bank company, you know, banking is a little tougher. I will say it's more difficult to steal identity on banking, but obviously it happens. It happens all the time. But you know, just calling your bank and just seeing what your options are, because every bank is going to be different, and it really depends on, you know, how big was the purchase, how long ago was it. So if you're like, yeah, like 2 years ago, someone stole my, you know, that's probably going to be tougher sell than like, oh my God, like last week or last month, someone made a bunch of purchases. I don't recognize them. What can you do for me? So just call your bank and see what your options are, because it just really depends on the situation.
Yeah, I totally agree. Shay, if that has happened to you or someone you know, you just need to call the number that's on the credit card that's associated with the fraud. So like if you've got for me, I have one debit card. And you know, if I see activity on there, it's not me, I know to call that number on the back of my debit card. They've been able to help me each and every time. So that's what banks are for. That's their job, to handle stuff like that. So you've got people that are in your corner for that, for sure. I will go ahead and share. I put something in the chat. This is one of my favorite ways to save money, and I think about this every time I go to the grocery store. And one reason this stands out is actually Immerse did a cooking class a couple of years ago where I learned this tip about going to buy groceries, and you can save a lot of money doing this. This might be very obvious to everyone, but it wasn't to me. But when you are buying fresh produce at the grocery store, you know, you go to where the vegetables are and you can like buy a head of lettuce, but you could also buy like a bag that has it already packaged and it's like all chopped up nice. I would always opt for that because I don't have to chop the lettuce. But if you can buy like the whole raw fruit or vegetable, that ends up saving you a lot of money, because if you buy it pre-packaged, pre-cut, pre-seasoned or whatever, you're paying for that. You're paying extra. So like if you want to buy a bag of carrots, I'm unreasonably passionate about this. If you want to buy a bag of carrots, that'll cost you $3 or $4. But if you just buy a couple big long raw carrots and chop them up, that is like 70 cents. So I don't know, just something for y'all to think about. If you're buying fruits and veggies, buy it like the whole version, not the prepackaged, because it'll save you money.
Oh my God, yeah, that is totally true. And there's a lot of places that will have, especially seasonal fruits and vegetables. Anything that's in season is always on super sale. So like you can always like shop for the season. You'll get it at a reduced price. And I also recommend if you are worried about buying, lettuce is not a good example, but carrots for sure. There's kind of like an in between. So like raw form is best where you like wash it and chop it yourself. The next best after that is actually frozen. So Brussels sprouts, mushrooms, carrots, corn. There's a ton of different frozen vegetables. It's a little bit more expensive than buying whole and chopping it yourself. It's a lot less expensive than buying like the prepared chopped up stuff in the produce section.
Definitely. We do have Shay's asking, can we do a fraud session about fraud? So yes, we will do a session on fraud, Shay, and make sure that we do something in one of the upcoming sessions. Great job, Regina. So that's what Regina does. Casey is she does the same thing that you do, buys it the raw way and then prepares it. Awesome.
Yes. All right. Apologize if I've been a little bit distracted. I've got roommates coming home. It's 5:30, so it's like Grand Central Station in here. But yeah, this is awesome. If you guys, any youth watching, if you have any questions about savings, any tips you want to share about how you save, any questions you have, definitely let us know. I'm not seeing any action in the chat right now. But yeah, that is all I've got. So we got 4 people watching. That is awesome. Next week, we're going to be continuing this. We're going to be continuing talking about all things finance and how we can be very knowledgeable about what's going on with our money, how to use it, how to save it, how to be safe with it, all things finance. So yeah, any final closing thoughts, Lindsay or Josh?
No, I don't have anything. I appreciate all the comments and questions tonight.
Yeah, really good activity in the chat. I love it. And we had high attendance, right? For like the beginning and the middle, we had like 8 people. So that is awesome. That is beautiful. I love it. All right, guys. Well, I will go ahead and close us up. If that is it, if you were here, thanks for being here. I will count you all as attended, which means that is however many times your name is going to go in the wheel, the drawing for next month, which I meant to do some research and see what we're giving away next month, and I don't know what that is. I'll catch me next week. I'll get back to you guys and let you know. But it'll be something that's worth $100. We just did $100 Amazon. So that's going to be a hard price to beat, but all right, guys, I hope you guys are staying safe. Again, reach out with any questions or comments you might have about finance or savings, and you know where to. Oh, we got one more. Okay, we almost done. When it comes to clothes shopping, I like to thrift and clearance. Amen. Who doesn't? Well, I guess some people don't, but I'm a huge thrifter myself. I'm rocking something I got today. I think this actually might be for a large child. I don't even know if it's an adult piece of clothing, but it doesn't really matter. I got it for like $2. Thrifting is another soapbox I can get on about how it's good for everyone involved. But I'm going to stop there. So you guys be safe, and we will catch